The Israeli armed forces have taken action for revenge. The Tehran government, which is known for its support for illegal paramilitary organizations and has become the focus of criticism, has paid a very heavy price for confronting Israel. Israeli Special Forces troops infiltrating an Iranian military base managed to destroy 62 Iranian tanks within hours. Tel Aviv's latest warning to Tehran has delivered an Iranian military base to the flames. The airstrikes of the illegal Gaza militant organization targeting Israel on October 7, 2023, have left the Middle East facing the darkest period in its history. The Israeli armed forces, which demonstrated an effective self-defense struggle, along with the retaliatory operations and operations launched by Gaza militants after the first attack, have reached a completely different level of border security measures within months. Iran, which wants to turn this war, which the whole world is counting down the days to end, to its advantage, is causing a crisis with every step it takes, the impact of which is felt globally. Currently accused of providing military and financial support to many illegal paramilitary organizations in the Middle East, Iran aimed to limit the area of authority and dominance of Israel, and eventually become the dominant power in the region. But the latest move by Iran, which does not want the end of the war, which signals that it is approaching the end with the support provided by the United States to Israel every day, was the last straw for the Tel Aviv government. The Iranian military, which recently launched a large-scale airstrike on Israel by deploying more than 300 missiles and unmanned combat aircraft, thought that they would not be subjected to any sanctions because Israel had already directed all its focus to Gaza. However, the facts were not at all as the Iranian army expected. Aiming to prevent Tehran from making the mistake of staging a second attack by responding effectively to Iran's failed airstrike attempt, the Israeli armed forces have signed a unique operation against Iran's most critical military base. Israeli Special Forces troops, who took action as soon as they received the mission order, set off disguised as the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. The Israeli soldiers, who moved very cautiously during their hours-long journey and managed not to attract suspicion, managed to reach the Iranian base where there was a huge amount of ammunition and millions of dollars worth of tanks and armored vehicles. Israeli Special Forces troops, who believed that they could not enter the base through the main gate due to identity checks, organized a detailed inspection. Realizing that the defensive wall located in the southwest of the base was much more unprotected, and that there were no spotters in the guard towers, the Israeli troops managed to get over the wall in a few minutes. Israeli Special Forces troops wearing uniforms belonging to the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, who immediately headed to the hangar points where tanks and armored vehicles were deployed, made the operation progress much faster. After placing the remote-controlled explosives they had brought with them in the Iranian tanks located in the hangars, the Israeli soldiers, who poured a large amount of gasoline on the hangar floor, completed all their preparations in less than an hour. However, the Israeli soldiers returned to the southwestern line, where they entered the military base without wasting any time due to the possibility of Iranian soldiers entering the hangars, and advanced to the extreme point where they could activate remote-controlled explosives. As soon as they reached the required distance, the soldiers sent a status report to the Israeli Armed Forces authorities, requesting approval for the last time. In a short time, after establishing contact and granting approval, Israeli Special Forces troops pressed the button and signed an operation that will completely change the fate of the Middle East and the current war. Fires that occurred immediately after the sounds of explosions rising from the Iranian military airbase turned night into day in the region. Surprised by what they suffered in the face of the explosions, which created a tremor no different from an earthquake, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards began to flee right and left inside the military base. Despite all the interventions of a large number of fire trucks entering the base, the fires, which could not be controlled, reached a height of meters in a short period of time. After intensive work that continued until the morning hours, not even one usable shell was found in the hangars, which became no different from the wreckage after the fires that could only be extinguished. Due to the destruction caused by explosions and fires, in which 27 Iranian tanks were directly destroyed, 35 tanks and 8 armored personnel carrier vehicles became unusable for a long time. The Iranian army, which despite all the scanning and inspection they carried out around the military base by unmanned aerial vehicles, could not find any trace of the group responsible for the sabotage, personally realized what a big mistake it was to confront Israel. The comments of war analysts on the subject have caused a huge echo on the agenda of the whole world. According to war analysts, Iran is trying to reignite an old enmity called the War of Shadows, the shadow war between Iran and Israel, which can also be described as a struggle for authority in the Middle East, had also led to the establishment of many illegal paramilitary organizations in the region. The Tehran government, which is trying to create great confusion in the Middle East by providing financial and military support to these illegal military structures, has taken refuge behind its old strategy since October 7th. The Iranian authorities, who are hesitant to directly intervene in the war because of Israel's effective power in the war industry and the support provided by the United States to Tel Aviv, continue to make moves that will further increase tension in the Middle East every day despite this. The Tehran government, which has continued its impulsive, irrational, and threatening attitude by ignoring any warnings made by both Israeli officials and the White House administration throughout the process, will pay a very heavy price for its warmongering if it continues like this. Until now, the Iranian authorities, who thought that Russia would provide him with support and that he could act as he wanted in the Middle East, have lost their chances in the current process. With the developments in the recent period of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, Russian President Vladimir Putin has forgotten all the agreements they have made with the Tehran government so far. Iranian officials, who are also deprived of Putin's support, are already anticipating with great concern what will happen if the world's largest military, political, and economic power declares direct war against Israel, which has the endless support of the United States. For this reason, Iran, which is trying to form a kind of coalition of Muslim countries in order to get the support of other countries in the Middle East, has now begun to provoke countries around Israel to join the war. Analysts have made a critical comment that if the countries around Israel also join the war, the conflicts could affect the entire Middle East, and a global catastrophe such as a new world war could start in the Middle East. The comments of war analysts, who stated that the most correct move that the surrounding countries could make would be to take political steps towards reconciliation without military intervention, once again directed the attention of the whole world to the Middle East. The Israel Defense Forces continues to fight with all its might to end the war as soon as possible, before it leads to a bigger crisis, and to neutralize all illegal paramilitary organizations in the Middle East, especially the Gaza militant organization.